I think all you can do as a musician is like, to be honest with yourself, like really stay true to your intuition, to what is naturally you. So, and put everything you have in there. And when you do that, that kind of creates the emotional content that the music transports. Hello, this is Oliver Phillips from Everon, and you're watching liveprog.
Good shot, but you better not think because I'm quiet that I regret. Tick-tock, down once your clock.
Oliver, after 16 years, there is a brand new Everon album, the 8th album.
Is it?
It is. I counted.
Probably not bad. Isn't it 7?
Yeah.
No, let me think. We have Paradoxes, Flood, Venus, Phantasma, Bridge, Flash, North. That's 8, right? For me, Bridge and Flash kind of is one album. So this is why
okay.
I count 7.
Yeah. Okay. So, but now that it's out, how are you feeling?
I have with that album, like that is the best that I can say, because I have no credentials for being particularly happy or enthusiastic with anything I do. I have a sense of accomplishment with it. I have the feeling that it really turned out what I envisioned. So I'm at peace with it. That's what I can say. Of course, I'm curious for the reactions, because of course there's been a long time. I was surprised by the reactions so far, just with the advanced songs. I actually hadn't expected that. I thought that. Actually, I expected complete indifference, to be honest.
Okay.
That's what I expected. So anything that is beyond that, for me, is like a pleasant surprise, and I'm very pleasantly surprised.
Yeah. I mean, you've always said that Everon never really quit, that it was on hiatus, that you always were writing, but an album just didn't happen. So what changed?
No, that's not right. Of course, I never stopped making music. When after the last album, after leaving Spacelift Studio, there was the time when everything changed with recording studios, that people started to do most of the recordings at home, and then you had bands that just record the drums, and then one just wants to mix. So this stuff that I love doing, like having a band there for a month or two, make an album together, didn't really happen anymore. And this business model of operating a studio the size of what we had kind of didn't work anymore. So after North, I left there, and because I just left it to Moschus, so that it would still be like maybe a business model for one person. And then I moved on to doing film music, did a lot of film music things, but also actually, which was not my intention, but I continued working with bands just on a freelance basis, and in a different way. Like then typically the bands that I work with is projects that stretch over half a year or a year, that I'm kind of part of the entire making of the album, the process, like really from the songwriting onwards. This is something I really like doing. So I was actually all the time busy with music. So I didn't miss anything. And I liked what I was doing, so Everon didn't really leave a gap there. I didn't have the feeling that I need like a creative outlet because I was making more music than ever, actually. That kind of was the reason. So it just didn't happen. But we also didn't really talk about it. It was in a way, with all 4 of us, a lot of things changing just in personal lives at the time. So things just take a different direction, and then you kind of don't get to it. It's strange, because there was really, I swear to God, there was never a talk even about quitting the band or something. It was never talked about.
But at a certain point, it did change because we have a new
actually not
album.
really. No. What really happened is that Moschus had asked me for Ed's email address. Ed is the owner of Mascot, and I seeked that out for him, gave it to him. Then I thought I'd just write him like a short mail, because we hadn't talked in a long time. Just like, how are we doing? Blah blah blah. But nothing more. And then just with a silly joke in the end, because I had found like our old record contract a while ago in my office. I told him, hey, we still have like an option for an album. So if you're silly enough to take, or maybe I'm silly enough to do an album. And then he replied instantly and said, yeah, whenever you want. And I actually thought they probably just placed the ball back and he got the joke. So then I said, Ed, that I was not serious, right? He said, yeah, I guess that. But however, think about it. And I started thinking about it. We talked about it and then I talked again. And I think then at some point, Ed said, let's just talk I think in Skype or on the phone or whatever. And then we had a more serious talk about it, because I wanted to also check how serious he really was with that, right? If it was just like, and then he was really totally behind the idea. Like, other than me, he thought it would be a great idea, and that it would be something that there's people waiting for it, and that people would be happy that we made that. And I was really on the position that who would care, right? It's not like we were Metallica, that there's like millions of craving fans out there. And that's when I started to really think about it. And then I still went forth, like I talked with the other guys, what they would think about it. And then I was going back and forth, and in a way you find as many reasons to do it as you find not to do it. And then last year in December, I went to Rotterdam, met Ed at the office and everything. We talked about it. They said, oh, let's just do it. And I just said, well, but really, I had nothing. I didn't have any songs. I had no idea. I had absolutely nothing. I just thought, yeah, well, then let's give it a shot. Why not? There was, so just to explain that there was not like the thought behind it. At some point, I had figured that, it's time to make an Everon album. Absolutely not.
It started as a joke, but it became something serious. And maybe they're not like tens of thousands of fans, but there are a lot of fans really happy with the fact that there is new music and that there's a new album. So I'm one of them, definitely. I mean, I remember when I saw it, the announcement, I was like, what?
Oh, you thought it was a joke.
No. I was like surprised. I was like, I had no idea that something was brewing.
We also didn't announce anything. I didn't want to announce anything before I knew I had the music.
Private warriors in his eyes, so it's a struggle for existence, for the right to disagree.
I had blocked like February to April, May, like 3-4 months earlier last year. Really reserved it for, okay, this is when I'm going to write and produce the music for Everon album. I didn't have anything. Yeah. I had, by the time it got to there, this is how it always works with me. Once I set my mind on it, that I think, okay, I want to do this, then also ideas start to come. So I had like a few, 2 or 3 loose ideas in my head. That was everything. So I had no idea if I would come up with anything like the worth of an album length, or if it would be good, or if it would even sound like ever. I knew nothing. So I started completely shut up about it before I know that I have an album. Yeah, not saying, hey, we're going to make an Everon album. Then you sit there and think, hey, yeah, yes.
You know, when that first song was released to the world, No Embrace. I mean, what I heard when I heard the song was a revitalized Everon. I really heard this. There was something in it that was like fresh and exciting and everything. But at the same time, I feel when I was listening to the album that the musical direction of Shells is a lot different than your previous work. For example, the song Pinocchio's Nose. Mm-hmm. I mean, that is folk. That is something I have never heard in an Everon album before.
Yeah, you're not the first one to mention that. I think, of course, in 15 years, right, things change. So, of course, I made so much music in the time. So, of course, there's the new influence. It would be strange if it would sound the same. But I really think for these folkish influences, that is really the ode to my work with Leah. I don't know if you know Leah. She also sings on that song.
Yeah.
So I made 3-4 albums with her so far, and she has like this Celtic music background. So I just got the hang of that. And then at some point that obviously it also finds its way into the things that I'm writing. Yeah, this is how you kind of. I would think that from of course, as a producer, normally my job is, let's say, to contribute to what the artist, the client is doing. But at the same time, I always take something with me. It's kind of this collaboration on a creative process always has it that it also makes you grow. I think so. It made me look in directions that maybe I wouldn't have looked at in the past, just because I didn't know it yet. But I didn't think about it. There was no intention to have it in there, but it just found its way into that.
Yeah, I can understand, of course. I mean, if you work with so many different bands, that's bound to have some effect on you as a writer.
I think so.
Yeah,
and there's nothing wrong with it, I think.
Yeah, but you mentioned the second thing that I thought was new for Everon. The other vocalists than you.
No, we always said that. We had like on North and on Bridge and Flash, we had Judith singing
Yeah.
like
Did I miss that?
also on
I
Bridge.
went back to all the albums and also looked at the credits and everything to see like I didn't miss it, did I? But I guess I missed it then.
Yeah,
But I
you
think it's
did.
not in the way as it is on this album because you have you have Leah, you
Yeah,
have of course
yeah.
Helena on 5 songs. So
Yeah, but most of it is small. Of course, the different. Of course, we live together. So then at that time, she actually recorded me. So then it is just very obvious that there's even the small things, but she can do like also things like grunts and stuff, which I cannot do. So if you kind of have it in the house, then it's like super handy to just. In the past, we also had grunts before. It was on, I think Juliet on Bridge. There I asked
that
Gunther from
that
Ancient Rites to come
that's
over.
correct. Yeah, that's correct. I yeah.
So yeah, it is a bit more maybe here than quite frankly, partly that may have to do with the fact that the one thing I was really scared of, like when saying okay, we make an Everon now. It was not so much that the music wouldn't come because I kind of trust myself that I do it for long. I know how the process works, so I that will all come good. But I know I can play better than back then. But singing, was always kind of it's not my strong suit, let's say. And if there is one thing I haven't really been doing the last 15 years, it was singing. Yeah. So the thought of having to do an entire album as a lead vocalist, that really scared me. I have been doing some guest things here and there over years when I was asked for it, but then I could kind of cherry pick like really parts that okay, this kind of really flatters my
Okay.
voice.
Yeah.
Then okay, this I can sing. But it's of course a totally different story if you're the lead singer. And so I think when I was writing the songs, I kind of already had the vocal lines in my head. So in my initial version of it, I had like guest singers everywhere for all the parts which I thought I would not be able to pull off properly. And that fortunately then after a while I also got the hang of that again. But it was kind of my emergency plan to have like tons of guest singers. So now we only have two, which is actually very decent.
In the darkest of nights, when the moon lights the sky.
I think it really works with the album and the whole atmosphere and everything. It really works. So in that respect, I'm really happy you did that, and I can understand. I mean, if you haven't been singing for so long, and then you have to sing again. I mean, it 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 is nice then to have a singer with you.
Yeah, oh,
Yeah,
that was really helpful. That was very helpful to have a singer with me or other than me really has technique.
yeah,
So
yeah, yeah.
she could actually really help a lot in really giving me like vocal coaching advice. Like I
Hmm.
never had. Actually, looking back on it, that was not my best decision, I guess. But however, I never had any singing lessons, so I'm always just winging it. I don't even see myself really as a singer. I would say I have what you call like a character voice. So it has
Yeah.
like identity, and there is people that like it, but I have been recording with enough really good singers to recognize one when I have one in front of the microphone. That is not me.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
So that
yeah.
was actually really helpful. That somebody can also kind of give you advice on how to approach a part if you don't manage to nail it, and that really
Hmm.
got me over a lot of obstacles. Actually.
The end result is very good because I gotta be honest. When I first heard your voice with No Embrace, the first song, I was like, ah, yeah, it's him. I noticed your voice does sound different than in the past, but again, uh, there's a lot of time passed, and yeah. So I can imagine if you haven't been singing, maybe that will have an effect on your voice as well. Could that be?
Oh, I don't know. I think also part is probably age. It is kind of normal that of course the voice changes a bit. So I would say I
Yeah.
probably lost like a semitone or two at the top end. I think I believe there is things that I probably do better nowadays than I did back then. Just because of the all the occasions I had to work with really good vocalists. So where you learn to pay more attention to the timing, to details, to phrasing, like to pay more attention to it. Yeah,
Hmm.
than I did
Yeah.
back then. I think that is something positive. rest it's the same crap voice as always, so let's not make a mystery out of it. It's just what it is. I have like a range of 12 notes and 5 of that sound okay, and I kind of live with it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And it
Well,
belongs with it. It's like, if you would have wanted a different singer, we should have done it like 20 years back. At some point, you got to roll with it because whatever is on their mind. But if somebody wants to hear an Everon album, they expect me to sing, and it's so then I do it. But
that's true. It's kind of obligatory
yeah.
that you do the vocals. You can't just say we'll put someone else in there.
No,
and
of
I'll
course you
just do
always
the.
can, but it's difficult. It's
Yeah.
particularly difficult like with what you call like character voices, like not really the good singers. Like a really good singer you can replace much easier. You just take another good singer. But then you have the guys that actually cannot really sing, but their voice is something distinctive and it kind of belongs with the band. This is difficult to replace.
Yeah, yeah.
I have to think the band that managed that really well actually was Marillion. They had exactly that situation, like really like a ish singer or whatever, but he is like really a character voice. And I think it was a really, really good choice they made back then to not try to find somebody that would resemble what he does, but find a completely different singer. And I think that worked for them pretty well.
Yeah.
But very often also it doesn't, because then people are like too attached with what it was. And it actually, personally, I don't know how we even get to that. Because I read the Mark Kelly biography recently. I had an interview with Nick, what is his last name? Nick Shilton. It's from Prog magazine in UK. A super nice guy. And he also has this small publishing company that releases like this. He sent me a couple of the books, so I actually read the Mark Kelly biography in actually when I was in Norway. It was actually really interesting. I'm not the biggest Marillion fan, but it was very interesting to read that biography and the whole stories around it. Like
Here in the mirror, I see a stranger's face.
You mentioned that you didn't have like an idea about the direction of the album.
Oh.
Is that
I
why?
didn't even have an idea I would make an album, so how should I have had a direction?
Yeah, that's true. But if I look at the songs, I mean, there's a lot of variety in the songs. In general, I mean, there's still some heavier songs on it, but in general, I find that there are a lot of, I don't know, how do you say it, more softer songs, more, I mean, maybe ballad type songs in it, or at least start out as a ballad. That was the impression I got from the album.
Oh, interesting. Personally, I would think it is. I would think it is heavier than the old things. At least the heavy parts are heavier. Like, of course,
that's possible. Yeah.
With the tuning of the guitars, that back then we all did everything standard E. Now I'm in drop A. Like this is much more. It's just heavier. So no, I do not perceive it as softer. No, but of course this is also the first one to say that. But it's of course completely subjective. Of course there is a lot of slower things like a more melancholic and a bit dark in vibe. Yeah. But they very typically at some point kind of have like the heavy part. So real ballads. Do we have real? Maybe Grace you could call one, and of course Children of the Earth, obviously. But that would be the only songs I would classify as ballads, actually.
I noticed that there are several songs that maybe start out a little bit softer, and then halfway they get a little heavier.
Yeah, that's the Everon disease. Like, actually, one thing I really like in music, that's not that I do it on purpose, but it always takes me there, is like the contrast within one song. I can, for some reason, really like to have really small parts, kind of creepy, intimate parts in direct neighborhood to something really huge or epic or like I find this. I don't know. It just appeals to me for whatever reason. It just comes out that way. But I know there's a pattern there. That this is actually something I tend to do.
Well, these parts I definitely found in the album. The big epic Everon parts. They were definitely there. There's also a new version of the song Flesh on it. And why did you add that?
Yeah, and first of all, it's really this I want to have be very clear. Like this is a bonus track, so it's a bonus
Okay.
track. So nobody pays a penny extra for it. I didn't even suggest the idea before.
Okay.
We had so much new music
Yeah.
that the album was actually there, and that actually was already getting too long for single vinyl anyway. So that's when I dared to ask Ed, hey, what would you think about the idea? And then fortunately he was okay with it. Because I really, the thing I did not want was like the Whitesnake thing, like make an album after 15 years and then have like Here I Go Again, Crying the Rain, and you know.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
so it's a bonus, it's a gift horse. However, the reason for it is if you do not want to blame it entirely on obsessive compulsive disorder, it was my desire to right my wrongs, let's say. So it was back then, that was my first serious shot at an orchestration, like really bringing together like orchestrals with heavy guitars and everything. And later in my life, that became something which I happen to do very often, which I kind of got known for doing.
Yeah.
Like a lot of symphonic metal and that. So I do a lot of orchestrals. And back then, at the time of doing the original version of Flash, I was kind of fishtailing my way through it because I didn't know what I was doing. I had like this idea of the song, and I really liked the song. This is also, if I wouldn't like the song, I wouldn't have made a new version. I think the song was really good, but I let aside the technical limitations of the time. Of course, I did not have like these orchestra libraries I have now, and let aside the knowledge for how to arrange it properly. But I was just shooting it from the hip. So I know I spent like, I don't know. I think on the whole keyboard orchestra arrangement, I think I spent something like 3 weeks, 4 weeks. I don't know. It was, of course, keep in mind the technical things, like everything was outboard,
Yeah.
outboard samplers with an Atari to do like the MIDI. Then you make like a 15-minute song. That poor Atari thing is kind of, it was a, you don't want to know. And there's all these tempo changes. So even the Atari was like, for making the pre-production, I think I used like some 4-track Tascam thing. And then one of these tracks I used for the time code that synchronized like the Atari with it. You don't want to know. However, at least when it was finished, I thought it was awesome. The key sounds sounded fantastic. So then I took it like to the studio, and then we did all the guitars, and I played guitars all over the place, everywhere. And I thought, oh, guitars sound awesome. And then we put it all together, and all sounded, what is that? Because everything was eating up everything. So I had no awareness for the things you really need to pay attention to when you want to marry the sound of a really heavy metal or rock band with orchestrals, where you have to carve out space that both the guitars and the orchestrals have like a room to live. So I practically crammed everything full with everything, and it was an unmixable mess. So we mixed that thing 15 times, 20 times, however, we tried everything, and then all the funniest EQings to kind of, and it just never sounded right. So I was always, I don't know if I was fully aware of it when it came out back then, but at least when I started to really get into doing orchestrals, like on a professional basis, of course, I pretty fast noticed everything I did wrong. I thought, oh my God, if I would have known. So, and then it kind of always bugged me that that thing was out there, like with my own band, under my own name, when I'm supposed to be good at that, to have something out there that so painfully demonstrated that I wasn't. So I used the occasion to kind of finally, after the 20 years, kind of give that song like the sound and treatment which I wished it would have had in the first place.
Okay.
And probably out of 100 people, 99 will not even care. This is where the obsessive compulsive person, because there's people that really love that song as it was, and they will say, what is that? Why? However, at the end of the day, if it's just for myself, then it's also because I sleep better now. And this is why it is so important for me to make clear that this is a bonus, right?
Yeah,
so I don't
okay.
ask anything from anybody for it.
Yeah, maybe it's because, of course, I had a digital promo to listen to. It didn't mention that. Maybe I think on the album it mentions it.
Not on the album, but I think it should. Didn't you have like this lengthy press info that goes with it?
Yeah, I did.
I think it should be in there. At
It
least
should be
I
in
told
there.
the guy who wrote it that I told the story to him, but
Okay.
I think there's also two versions. Like I've seen a short one and a longer one, and know which one you've seen. But you're
Okay.
not the first one asking for it. So I try to explain it for everyone who gives me the occasion because I wished indeed it would have been clearer. So
Yeah,
I
yeah, yeah.
do not want this to look like it is like a regular track. Right. It isn't.
Okay. It's your redemption song.
If you want, yeah, in a way. Yeah. Yeah.
As much as I think everybody is really happy with the album, it's absolutely fantastic. There is of course, yeah, a bit of a shadow over the album, which is of course, yeah, the untimely passing of Moschus.
Yeah.
I can only, well, I don't think I can imagine what a shock it must have been. How,
Nobody can. That is how it is with how it happens with when death comes completely out of blue sky. It is for this is the comfort I try to find it. I think for the one it happens to, it is actually a very merciful way to go. So, but like I think we probably all would kind of gladly sign in for that to just suddenly, oops, I'm dead. For the people around, of course, it is impossible to realize because he wasn't sick or anything. He was doing all fine. He was in the middle of the recordings. He was full of enthusiasm. So we've been talking every day, like over the years between the albums. We didn't have that much contact. Of course, we always had like contact and we're in a similar line of work. We helped each other out and stuff. But it's not like we have been seeing each other all the time. Now for the last 3-4 months before it happened, we kind of had daily contact again, working on the songs. It's just crazy that somebody just say, "Hey, see you tomorrow," and then get a call that he was found dead at home. It's until now not possible to rationally really kind of understand it because it appears kind of like the thing that cannot happen, but of course it happens. I know other people where it happened, like Ancient Rites, the band of Gunther who sang on Bridge, with their drummer also a year ago happened exactly the same.
okay.
Also, I think he had also cardiac arrest. He just dropped dead. Also healthy, all fine. He wasn't even smoking or anything. So these things tragically really happen, and it is impossible to really understand it.
Yeah, yeah. You did decide to continue to finish the album, and like I said, for which many people are very grateful that you did. But I think in the end, I mean, this is of course the last music that he recorded, so it's also sort of his legacy. It's a document to remember him by, and that's what I did get from the press release is that you wrote the song "Until We Meet Again." About this, and when I was listening to that song, initially when you hear the music, it doesn't act. In no way it feels like a sad song. I mean, the title would give away, and I would expect it like some sort of piano ballad, but it wasn't. But when I started to listen to the words, that kind of
but I can explain how it got there. So because it is not like that song was written for the purpose. That song was the last song I wrote for the album, and I was working on that song when I got the news that he was dead. The song was actually kind of finished.
Okay.
And the lyrics I always do later, and with the lyrics, actually, my process is similar as it is with the music. It's not very rational. I kind of really trust in intuition, just what comes up and what feels right. This is what I follow, and I believe that in some way that the lyrics, the words, are already kind of in the DNA of the song. So it is most of the time already when I. Let's say when I do the arrangement, everything, and record everything, let's say I spend a week or two with every song, so I hear it very often. And in my head, I always know the vocal lines. There is no vocals, but I have them in my head. And very, very often, much more often than not, in the process of that, there is already lines that kind of surface, that just get stuck, like phrases. Then it belongs in there. And then very often, really, quite often, I do not even know what it will be about. It is then the end, like the dots connect, and then you say, okay, this is what I write about. and I don't censor myself with that. And when it came to Until We Meet Again, it is just that there I kind of really tried to maybe find something else, because I also felt in a way this up-tempo song and what it is, it doesn't really fit the topic of the lyrics. But I couldn't think of anything else, and I gave it up because it just urged itself upon me. And in a way, you can also, if you want, look at it in a way that it kind of honors the way it was, like in the more like the good things we shared. That is not a depressive, miserable kind of super sad, let's shoot yourself in the head song. That it comes with a bit of a hopeful vibe is maybe an unappropriate term, considering that there's not so much hope in that. But however, that it rather finishes on a high note. Let's say I definitely remember him like in this last month of his life, really like full of enthusiasm. Like he was so much enjoying to make the album. It was really it was full of energy. Then he just was gone, so I didn't see him suffer or slowly go down or something. So in a way, then that song, The Vibe, it may even be a more suitable tribute if you want to interpret it that way. But as I say, there was not much rational thinking in all that. But I couldn't. The words just wanted to be in there. Let's say, and it is really that is the song that I was working on when I got the news that he was dead.
The recording was not finished. You had someone do the parts that weren't done yet, the drum parts. Jason Gianni, he joined in. How did he get involved in this?
Jason and I, we know each other from pretty long ago. I think he originally was like, I think he had sent me an email or even a letter maybe, like as kind of a fan when he was like a very, very young guy. He's like 10 years younger than I am or something. And because he liked Everon. And then we kind of always stayed in loose contact over the years. And I followed his career. Then he got a pro drummer and everything. We had always said that at some point it would be cool if we could work together. And then that occasion came in 2015 when I was part of this Phantasma project together with Charlotte Wessels and Georg Neuhauser. And there, of course, we didn't have a band, so we used studio musicians. So then I thought, okay, this is the occasion. Then I asked Jason, and Jason was also Randy George played on that one. Both were in Neil Morse's band at the time. And and so this is how I know him, and I know he always loved the band. So he was when we decided, okay, we finished the album. Moschus had recorded 8 of the 11 new songs already. In the end, Jason played 4, not 3, because 1 was kind of work in progress. I didn't know that at the time. I just got like the computers from his studio and then saw what was there. And then one that was Broken Angels wasn't really finished yet. So it was like but here that was work in progress. So I asked Jason to play that as well. So he was like the most natural choice, because I know he's into progressive rock. He's an awesome drummer and he likes the band, and we have a personal connection. He fortunately agreed that he would be happy to do it. So that's how he came in.
Very happy that he did, so that you could at least finish the album, and now it's here. Everyone is for all intents and purposes back. A lot of people are happy, and I hope, all things considered, you are happy as well.
I'm not known to be happy particularly with anything. I'm not unhappy. Yeah. I said I have a sense of accomplishment, but I'm happy that I made the album. Let's put it that way. That it turned out the way it did. The process of making it, of course, in the end was kind of ruined with what happened, but in a way the album was kind of finished by then. So for the rest, the process of making it went like a charm. Like the songwriting came so natural, and the music just came. So it was really wonderful. And other than it was with North, we could really keep the momentum. That really everything is fresh, and then you stay on and you finish. This is what I like doing. Like this is what ruined the fun with North for me. That it was like, because of everything happening at the studio, the process stretched over 2 years or something. And I know many people work that way, but I not thinking that way. For me, it is like momentum is everything, because I work very much based on intuition. So I see the music always as a snapshot of my life. It's what comes out at that moment of my life. So, and then write something now and then revisit it 2 years later, and then maybe write lyrics and record the vocals. It just doesn't feel right. I kind of lose connection with it. And that was not at all the case here. So the whole process went really, really wonderful. So I'm that way happy for the rest. I also, frankly, when something's finished, I never hear the music myself. So I believe by the moment you release something, you have to let it go, right? Then it is for other people. For me, actually, is much more important than the result. For me, it's the process, because that is what I spent the time of my life with. So when I think back of albums, like, and have good or bad memories, that is much more related to the process, to the time of my life. And if, for instance, North, I know there's people that really like the album, so I'm not saying it is bad or anything, but I have bad feelings about it because the process was so unenjoyable. Because, of course, I spent my life with the process, not the result. The result is to other people, and then it is theirs. It will connect to the time in their lives when they hear it. Like the music becomes a soundtrack to somebody else's lives, and they connect to different memories. So I truly believe in just letting that go, and also not attach yourself to people's opinions about it, because they're just what it goes. There's, I think all you can do as a musician is to be honest with yourself, like really stay true to your intuition, to what is naturally you. So, and put everything you have in there. And when you do that, that kind of creates the emotional content that the music transports. So if that emotion is in there, there is always a chance it will resonate with somebody who hears it, just because it resonates with something they experience. But at the same time, it will always happen that there's people that it doesn't resonate with at all. And then they may say, oh, this is bad or whatever. It is just not for them. So all these discussions about music that is good and bad, and 99% of that for me is nonsense. It's not always assuming that it is like executed properly produced, but let's say by the objective standards, well done. The rest is down to taste. There is like if you have a song that, I'm sure there is songs that you say you love them because for you, I hear them, they do nothing with me, the other way around, because we're different people. So there is no song that everybody will love. That doesn't exist. So of course I rather hear like compliments than getting beaten up, but in either case it doesn't really change so much about how I feel myself about the music. It doesn't change it. Yeah, I know myself as the only person when I'm the challenge is always when you have like the idea for a song, you have it in your head. I at least kind of have exactly like a vision in my head how it should be, and then everything I do after was like chasing after that vision, trying to execute it in a way that it represents and does justice to that idea I had. And sometimes that works, and sometimes it doesn't. And if I know it didn't, then it doesn't help me at all. If thousands of people would say this song is awesome, because I would still feel like, nah, I kind of failed that one. So, and the other way around. If I have the feeling, okay, this is really good, this is exactly what it should be, and somebody says, do you not like it? Well, then it's not for you. I don't take offense out of it. At least I try not to. But I think I learned not to. If that makes any sense.
I think that's a perfect closing statement for the interview.
Okay.
I had one last question, but I kind of don't want to ask it because I'm kind of afraid of the answer, and I think.
No, but feel free to ask. You can always cut it out.
I'll ask it, and then.
And I just hang on.
Even if it's just between you and me, but
all right.
All right. The last question I had here was, looking ahead, how do you see the future of Everon?
Oh, you can ask that question. Actually, I already talked about it with let's say the record company already gave like the signal that they would like another one, because everybody's like really positively surprised with the reactions and the interest and everything. So it would be silly to wait another 15 years. So I definitely, not that I have anything, right? But let's now say when the album is out and when it really is like received well and there's like people asking for it. Really, the main reason why I didn't make one was that I didn't know anybody wanted one. So if I would know people, then I will try my best to make one. So I see a good chance, but of course, there's, as we all learned, never guarantees. We also talk about maybe how to get it on stage, but this is of course logistically difficult. Also because of Moschus, natürlich.
Yeah.
So that would, I think, rather be for next year. There has been some interest from festivals and stuff, but getting that on stage, that would be really a project. But we talk about it, so not even that I would rule out, but also not going to promise it at this point. But however, what I can say, the idea is not that this is now supposed to be the last album. So that is not, and if it was, we would anyway not talk about it. This is how the band works.
Yeah.
So no, so I do see a realistic chance that there's going to be another one.
Okay.
And then probably there's going to be 2 more ones, because I learned from you it's number 8, and then 9 would be an uneven number, and I have like a thing with uneven numbers, so then I have to make 10.
You did write a song on this album about that, didn't you? Called OCD?
Yeah, well, on purpose, because let's face it, it's an instrumental song. There's nothing sillier than that. It kind of is the opposite of everything I normally kind of advocate for in progressive music. I always, don't do the diddling stuff like that. Then I do exactly that.